Welcome back to Token Teardown Dyno Test Certified, where we roll projects into the garage, throw them on the lift, and check what they are really working with under the hood. Today, we are rolling in Toncoin, the project trying to become the built-in crypto engine inside Telegram. And yes, we're going to talk price. We know that's what everyone wants. But before we race down that road, there are a few questions we have to answer first. Does Ton even deserve a spot in your wallet? Does it survive a real dyno pull? And most importantly, is this thing actually pushing real horsepower? Or is it just a BMW M550 wearing a body kit trying to pass as an M5? Because price targets do not matter if the engine is weak. They do not matter if the crew cannot wrench. And they do not matter if the fuel system leaks all over the garage floor. So before we talk upside multipliers or moon math, we're checking who built it, how it runs, how the token supply behaves, and whether real people actually use it. If you have a project you want rolled into the garage, drop it in the comments. We read all of them, and yours might be next. Before we pop the hood, smash like, hit follow, and share this with your fellow degens, or that one guy at the bar who will not shut up about width like it changed his life. Before we go anywhere, I need to give a proper shout out to Triple X, also known as Christian, because this entire teardown exists because he did the work most people talk about but never do. Reading the white papers, digging through GitHub, combing documentation, testing the network, and actually driving this thing instead of repeating opinions. That is discipline, that is craft, and that is how real understanding is built. So thank you, brother. We appreciate you. The teardown is stronger because of your work. All right, roll it deeper into the bay. Let's pop the hood and see if Ton is really built like an M car. Now let's talk about the crew, because horsepower means nothing if the people turning the wrenches panic under pressure. Every legendary car has specs, but championships are won in the pit lane. Ton traces back to the Durov brothers, the founders of Telegram. Nikolai Durov is the engineer, mathematician, cryptography, distributed systems. He helped design Telegram's encryption model and was deeply involved in the original Ton architecture. This is not a guy who learned crypto on Twitter. This is someone who's been building serious systems long before it was. Fashionable Pavel Durov is the operator and visionary, the same guy who scaled Telegram into a global platform while keeping it fast, independent, and privacy-focused. He pushed the idea that crypto should not live on the outside, begging users to show up. It should live inside tools people already use. Regulators stepped in, and Telegram backed away from launching the token. But the car did not get wrecked. Ton became the open network, run independently by the Ton Foundation, structured public-facing and separated from Telegram the company. Modern developers and long-term contributors kept building. This is not a project coasting on nostalgia. Funding matters. Serious venture capital stepped in publicly. That means diligence, legal review, and expectations. Garage translation. This was not built in a backyard. This was designed by engineers, rebuilt by professionals, and funded by people who expect it to finish the race. So the crew checks out. Now we ask the next question. How is this thing actually built? Ton is a Layer-1 blockchain. That means it is base infrastructure like Ethereum or Solana. But the mission is different. Most blockchains ask users to come to them, download wallets, learn seed phrases, understand gas, bridge assets. Ton does the opposite. It goes where users already are. That place is Telegram. Ton is trying to be the payment and application engine inside a messaging app used by hundreds of millions of people. Here's how a normal human experiences it. They open Telegram. They tap a wallet or a bot. They send value, like they send a message. No ceremony. For people who want full control, There are self-custody wallets like Keeper. Same chain, same asset, different ownership model. Ton is chasing mass adoption without friction, not crypto theater. Now let's look under the hood and see how the engine actually works. All right, now we are actually under the hood. And this is where we stop talking vibes and start talking mechanics. Because if you do not understand this part, nothing else about Ton really makes sense. Ton is a layer 1 blockchain, but it is not built like most layer 1s, and that is intentional. Most blockchains are designed as one primary execution environment where every validator has to agree on everything in the same order. That works fine at low usage, but it creates bottlenecks when real users show up. Ton was designed from day one to avoid that bottleneck. At the center of the system is something called the master chain. The master chain does not process normal user transactions. It acts as the coordination layer for the entire network. The master chain tracks validator sets. It defines network configuration. It records the state roots of all other chains. And it ensures that everything lines up cryptographically across the system. Think of the master chain like the vehicle control unit. It does not drive the wheels, but without it, the entire system loses coordination. Actual user activity happens on work chains. A work chain is where accounts live. It is where balances update. It is where smart contracts execute. Ton is designed to support multiple work chains with different virtual machines and role sets if needed. Today, most activity happens on the primary work chain, but the architecture allows specialization over time. Now here is where Ton separates itself from most chains. Each work chain can dynamically split into shard chains, but shard chain is responsible for a subset of accounts. Instead of every validator touching every transaction, the network partitions state. As activity increases, the system automatically splits shard chains. As activity decreases, shard chains merge back together. This process is deterministic and protocol-driven. It does not require governance votes. It does not require manual intervention. It happens as a function of load. From a systems perspective, this is horizontal scaling at the base layer. Instead of increasing block size or pushing hardware harder, TON increases parallelism. Now the part that makes or breaks this design is execution. TON uses asynchronous message passing between smart contracts. What that means in practice is that contracts do not execute in a single global transaction context. A contract sends a message. That message is delivered and processed independently, possibly in a different shard, possibly in parallel with other messages. State changes are isolated per shard, and consistency is enforced through cryptographic commitments that roll up into the master chain. For developers, this means you cannot assume immediate synchronous execution across contracts. You must design with message ordering, retries, and partial execution in mind. This is harder than writing Solidity on an EVM chain, but it is also why the system can scale without locking everything into a single execution lane. Validators operate under a proof-of-stake model. Validators are assigned to shards dynamically. They propose and validate blocks for the shards they are responsible for, and shard blocks are periodically anchored into the master chain. Finality is achieved when the master chain records shard state updates. This allows the network to maintain global consistency without forcing every validator to process every transaction. This is the key distinction coders care about. TON does not claim high throughput by optimizing a single chain. It achieves throughput by coordinating many chains executing in parallel. Now, fees. TON was designed with gas abstraction at the protocol level. Fees are still accounted for at the network level, but applications are not required to push that complexity onto users. An application can sponsor fees. Fees can be handled through smart contract logic, and users do not always need to hold TON directly to interact. This is not a UI hack. This is built into how transactions are structured and settled. From a user perspective, things feel simple. From a protocol perspective, accounting remains correct. That trade-off is deliberate. The system favors user experience even if it increases complexity for builders, which brings us to the honest trade-off. TON is not beginner-friendly to develop on. The asynchronous execution model requires discipline. State management requires thought. Tooling is improving, but it is not as mature as EVM ecosystems. That friction filters builders, but what you get in return is a network that does not freeze when real users arrive. So when someone asks, is TON fast? The correct answer is no, not in the way people usually mean it. It is not fast because it pushes one chain harder. It is fast because it runs many execution environments in parallel, coordinates them through cryptographic state commitments, and settles global consistency at the master chain level. Mechanic translation. Instead of one massive engine redlining TON, runs multiple engines in sync, each handling its own load, with a control system keeping everything aligned. That is the drivetrain. And if that system keeps holding under real-world traffic, then the rest of the story actually matters. All right, now we check the odometer, because specs on paper do not mean a damn thing if nobody is actually driving the car. This is where a lot of crypto projects get exposed. They look fast, they sound fast, but they spend most of their life on a trailer. TON's advantage is not theoretical speed, it is distribution. TON lives inside Telegram. That one fact changes everything. Telegram is not a crypto app. It's a communication app used by hundreds of millions of people every single day. That means TON does not need to convince users to care about blockchains. It does not need onboarding funnels. It does not need educational campaigns. It just shows up where people already are. When wallets, bots, and mini apps were introduced inside Telegram, usage did not grow slowly. It accelerated. Why? Because people were not trying crypto. They were just doing things, sending money, tipping creators, playing games, paying for digital services, interacting with bots, and the blockchain happened quietly in the background. This is the difference between adoption and speculation. Speculation shows up in bursts. Adoption shows up as routine. Now let's talk metrics without pretending numbers alone tell the whole story. TON has seen sustained growth in active wallets inside Telegram. Transaction counts have reached into the millions during periods of heavy usage. And most importantly, activity does not disappear the moment market sentiment cools. That matters. A lot of chains look alive during bull markets and empty during everything else. TON is trying to stay busy regardless of mood. Now, stablecoins. This is where things get real. TON has become a meaningful rail for USDT inside Telegram. That means people can move dollar-denominated value as casually as sending a message. No volatility anxiety, no timing the market, no converting back and forth. This is how crypto stops feeling like a casino chip and starts feeling like money. Coders care about this because stablecoins drive consistent transaction volume. Mechanics understand it because people do not want the value of their paycheck swinging 10%. Stablecoins create repeat behavior. Repeat behavior creates retention. Now let's be honest. Usage existing once does not matter. Retention is the boss fight. The real question is not, did people use TON? It is, do they come back tomorrow? Do they use it again? Do they forget it is even crypto? That is the standard TON is being measured against. Because when crypto disappears into the background, expectations go up. Users do not tolerate downtime. They do not tolerate complexity. They do not tolerate broken flows. They just leave. So the odometer reading on TON is real. Miles are being put on the car. The question now is not whether it has been driven. The question is whether the engine holds up as miles keep stacking, which leads directly into the next thing we have to check. Has this thing actually been upgraded over time, or did it launch once and coast? That is where we go next. So, the next question is simple. Did TON actually evolve over time, or did it launch once and coast on the name? The answer is that TON has been shipping. Under the hood, the network has gone through multiple core upgrades focused on stability, performance, and handling heavier load. These are not flashy headline changes. You feel them when activity increases and the system does not break. Inside Telegram, the experience has steadily improved. Wallets got cleaner. Payments got simpler. Staking, swaps, and everyday actions became easier. The goal has always been the same: reduce friction, so users do not even realize they are interacting with a blockchain. One of the most important upgrades was native stablecoin support, especially USDT, that quietly turned TON into a real payment rail. Once people can move dollar-denominated value easily, behavior changes. It stops being speculative and starts being practical. On the builder side, tooling has improved as well. APIs, infrastructure, and developer workflows have been tightened so teams can ship products instead of fighting the system. Looking forward, the roadmap is not about reinventing TON. It's about hardening it, improving reliability under heavy traffic, strengthening validator operations, and continuing to simplify life for users and builders. Because when you live inside an app used by hundreds of millions of people, the system either holds up or everyone notices when it does not. And that sets up the next question perfectly. If the tech keeps improving and the focus is scale, does the market narrative actually line up? That's where we go next. So here's the straight answer. TON did not launch and coast. It shipped. Not flashy upgrades, not hype features. Real work focused on one thing: keeping the system stable while usage grows. Under the hood, the network has gone through multiple core upgrades aimed at performance, reliability, and handling load. You do not notice these when they work. You only notice when they are missing. Inside Telegram, the experience kept tightening. Wallets got simpler. Payments got cleaner. Using TON stopped feeling like crypto and started feeling like a normal action. The biggest shift was native stablecoin support, especially USDT. That quietly changed everything. Once people can move dollar value easily, the behavior changes. Speculation fades and usage takes over. On the builder side, tooling improved, APIs stabilized, infrastructure matured. Teams can ship without fighting the chain, and the roadmap tells you everything you need to know. TON is not chasing shiny features. It is reinforcing the foundation. Because when you live inside an app used by hundreds of millions of people, there is no room for excuses. Either it holds or it gets exposed. That is why this matters. And that is why the next question is unavoidable. If the tech is real and the system is holding, does the narrative and timing line up for the market to care? That is where we go next. Now we do the uncomfortable part, because every real machine has pressure points. Ignoring them does not make them disappear. So let's talk about where TON can actually slip. First is supply pressure. TON has locked supply and scheduled unlocks. That means new tokens enter circulation over time, regardless of sentiment. If usage is growing, that supply gets absorbed. If usage slows, it shows up as sell pressure. This is not unique, but it is real, and it has to be tracked. Second is reliability at scale. TON is built for load, but when you live inside a mainstream app, expectations are different. Users who do not know they're using crypto do not tolerate downtime. If it breaks, they don't complain. They leave. Third is Telegram dependency. Ton's biggest strength is its tight connection to Telegram. That is also its biggest exposure. If Telegram faces regulatory pressure, policy changes, or growth slowdowns, Ton feels it immediately. Ton is not just betting on itself. It's betting on Telegram continuing to grow and lean into crypto. Fourth is developer friction. Ton does not use familiar EVM tooling. It requires asynchronous thinking and different design patterns. That filters builders. Less noise, but also slower ecosystem growth if momentum stalls. Finally, regulation. Ton has history. The structure today is cleaner, but visibility brings scrutiny. Here's the honest takeaway. Ton is not fragile, but it's not bulletproof. Supply must be absorbed by real usage. Stability must hold under. Scale Telegram alignment matters. Builders must keep shipping. If those things stay intact, Ton compounds quietly. If one breaks, the story slows. Now we get to the money. That is next. All right, now let's set the baseline so we're all standing on the same ground. Right now, total crypto market cap sits a little over $3 trillion. That already happened. Ton today sits around a $4 billion market cap, with roughly 2.5 billion tokens circulating, which puts price around $1 and change depending on the day. That is not a prediction. That is the starting line. Everything from here is about where this goes if the system keeps executing, and where it goes if it does not. So now we talk scenarios. Let's imagine a world where crypto does not disappear, it does not stay niche, and it does not blow itself up. A world where crypto matures into a real asset class. Call it $20 trillion total market cap. Same planet, same people, more adoption, more real usage. Now the question is simple. Where does Ton land in that world? Scenario 1. Ton just keeps pace. Telegram grows steadily. Payments and apps work. Nothing explodes, nothing breaks. Ton keeps roughly the same slice of the market it has today. That puts it around 20 to 25 billion in market cap. Roughly $8 to $10 per token. Scenario 2. Ton gains relevance. Usage compounds. More people use it without knowing they are using crypto. Ton becomes more important because it is useful. Now you're talking 30 to 40 billion market cap. Roughly $12 to $16 per token. Scenario 3. Everything lines up. Consumer crypto actually arrives. Telegram becomes a financial layer. Stablecoin usage explodes. Ton becomes invisible infrastructure people rely on. That pushes market cap into the 75 to 100 billion range. Prices in the $30 to $40 zone depending on supply. And then there is the downside. Something breaks, unlocks overwhelmed demand, regulation tightens, usage stalls, crypto still grows, but Ton loses relevance. That puts it closer to 5 to 8 billion market cap, $2 to $3 per token. Now, here is the honest verdict. Ton is not a guaranteed win, but it is not something you ignore. The tech is real. The distribution is real. Adoption is happening. The risks are real too. Supply pressure, reliability, Telegram dependency, developer friction. So this is not blind conviction, and it is not a lottery ticket. This is a watch closely, size responsibly. Let execution decide asset. If you believe the next phase of crypto growth comes from real users, real payments, and infrastructure that does not feel like crypto, Ton earns a spot in that thesis. And if you have a project you want rolled into the garage next, drop it in the comments. This is not financial advice. It is the garage doing what it does best. Engines hot. Say the off. Let it rip. T.